What was quite apparent with BCG was that it was very much felt like a family business, and that was something that appealed to us. It wasn't a volume-based business, but there was also things like the fact that BCG had a construction or a civil business within the business, which obviously helped with costs and things as well. So it was that BCG had thought about all of the, elements of the build, and obviously have a really strong team to support that process. So as we said, we've worked with a number of builders, a number of different companies, and we felt that it was a really good fit for us because we were able to have that open communication and transparency in cost, and also the fact that I really like the design process, so obviously able to work together on design and things as well was quite, again, enjoyable. So
there was a plan here, and we used it as a kind of a blueprint or a footprint to make changes off. There were a lot of things that weren't quite in the right place or weren't the right size. So when we did come into kind of BCG with a plan, they were more than happy to kind of work off that plan and help us then develop something which was more suited to what we actually wanted. The great thing was, there was no kind of pressure to do it one way or the other. It was like actually help work with us to do something that we wanted. And we were pushing the envelope in terms of, coverage, etc., which was always worked through in a kind of timely manner, and with the forethought that some things may or may not get through depending on how hard you want to push it. So there was always that flexibility for us to make a decision based off options, as opposed to you must do it one way.
I was quite clear, I guess, on what sort of design aesthetic that I wanted to achieve in the home, and I guess more importantly, as I look at, because we've got a young family, is functionality as well as style. So not really choosing something that wouldn't suit little children, that would get dirty or damaged, etc. So we like to live in the home.
Kind of working with the council, submissions, etc. The great thing was it was all handled by BCG, so we didn't actually have to worry about it. There were a few times questions came through and BCG could handle it, but also letting us know what that meant in terms of timeframes and costs potentially. So again, the transparency and the kind of the communication was really key there. And I was always on kind of keeping on top of that, asking. I did a few calls to myself by myself to the council just to see how things were progressing as well, because it is our home ultimately. So we need to feel like we are accountable for it as much as BCG. So from that perspective, the great thing is we could just leave it with BCG, and we didn't have to worry about it. Whereas this time we felt like we could do things different, like obviously the kitchen drawers, even the kitchen cabinetry, having the tongue and groove look, and the kind of the waterfalls, etc., and having that kind of Calcutta look on the bench tops was really important to us.
And I guess that's another thing to mention was the care taken. For example, on the bench tops, the care taken to match the vein on the Calcutta between the waterfall and the bench top, which was really lovely. So the attention to detail was really apparent. So. Yeah, it was good.
So in terms of the reaction, BCG, when there's a critical thing, I think from our perspective, again, it was around being really open about what was happening and why and when it needed to happen, because, keeping to time was really important to us. We were renting. We'd moved out of our lovely previous home that we'd built, and so we were renting, and this thing, building this, was really important to kind of hit certain milestones in terms of time frame, so we didn't have to rent, and our kids could have their own rooms, for example, as opposed to sharing. So in terms of those critical times, it was just the communication which was really good and really helpful. And it was the fact that I'm quite a detailed person, so I like following up with a lot of emails and etc. And it was the time and care taken to actually answer each point, which was really well regarded, even though I was kind of pushing a lot of the time. The fact that we had the project manager and the site manager made a big difference. We had a WhatsApp group, which was awesome, and so we could text or message both of them at the same time. But having that focus on kind of quality was really important to us. So having someone who was always focused on our project, driving it to kind of completion, but to a high quality execution was really important to us. So from my perspective, that was pretty cool, and it was we actually didn't expect it as well. It's about the kind of relationship with the customer and making sure the customer, ideally what they were kind of envisioned. I think from having a construction manager and a project manager just made things kind of tick along a lot faster, and again there was just better communication lines. In terms of, I guess what BCG did well, especially compared to other construction companies, and we can judge that because we've built before. From my perspective, the thing that was not necessarily unexpected, but was it was great, was the fact that we do like the flexibility of making changes and having things that we want, not necessarily what kind of either hits a time frame or hits a kind of spec. So from that perspective, like we made a lot of variations. I was thinking it was close to 30 in the end. I think it was 29. But so we made a lot of changes, but that was really important to us. I can understand from a business perspective why that can become a kind of administration hassle. But from a customer perspective, we just wanted to get what we wanted, which ultimately we were able to achieve because of that kind of to and fro with BCG. And so from that perspective, that was definitely something that we hadn't had before, which we really appreciated. I think the other thing from my perspective as well, which was really important and which kind of bore out, was the fact that we did have a site manager and a project manager, which kind of did add that ability to get answers really quickly, which was, again, the communication is super important to us.
In terms of just really proud of how we've utilised space, I guess, on a small site, and sort of shows how urban living can still obviously facilitate family living, which is really important.
The 2 or 3 top things that have really impressed about BCG, I think one is the openness and also the accountability, which I think is really important. So, things happen, things don't always work to plan, but it was the accountability of when things didn't work, that they would work to create a solution which was fair to both parties. And so I think that was really good. And until you go through it, you don't, even people can say it, but it's the kind of the execution of that or the doing of that, which is really important. So from my perspective, it was a big plus. And then ultimately, it's also the quality of the build and the time taken to make sure things were as they should be. So, not everything in a build is going to be perfect the first time. And so coming back and rectifying it to a high standard, which is pretty cool.
And I think it's also matching that with the essence of a family business, which it is, and we obviously had communication pathways with everyone from Jacob right through to yourself, and it was really good to be able to have that, pick up a phone with anybody, and discuss what we needed. So
it felt like there were a lot of people we could talk to if we needed to, which is a great thing. It can be if you don't have a point of contact, but we always knew who our point of contact was.
I guess it's more, if we were to build again, would we use BCG? Definitely, because I think it's just that obviously managing our budgets and obviously the quality of build that we'd like, and again the relationship with everyone at BCG. It's all about trust and obviously feeling confident in what we're going to achieve at the end, and definitely everything, all those boxes were ticked. So.
I think the big thing is taking your time to understand what you want before rushing into it. So doing your due diligence in terms of obviously companies, who you build with, but also what are you trying to achieve. So from that perspective, it's really important to take the time up front because obviously once you've laid the foundations, you can't change it. And then I think that in terms of recommending BCG, without a doubt, I've already recommended BCG to actually a friend also for a build. They've actually decided not to build because they're going to do something differently. But yeah, like from my perspective, I'd love to build again, probably in the next kind of 4 or 5 years. And yeah, from that perspective, we'd definitely use BCG again.